Shall I do the nitty-gritty first, the little... I've just picked up on a few things that you've talked about in your presentation. Things like you mentioned first thing you put about the handheld approach.
Yes.
That you reflected upon the difficulty and that it would sometimes look a mess. Why would it look a mess? What do you mean it would look a mess?
Well, because when you're walking around and everything with a handheld camera, obviously if it's fixed, you know, it's all steady and everything, but it's handheld, you can probably...
The camera we were given, we actually did tests. We didn't upload them though. We did tests. It's to do with the actual software inside the camera, because there's stabilizers, and in this new camera that we've got now, it's got built-in stabilizers, which makes it not nearly as shaky, and it's still to do with the track lines as well, because if you're moving quickly it'll blur together, but not with this camera.
Brilliant. Right. Also, you're talking about your editing. You know, you said about the face
yes.
that comes up. How did you do that with the software that you have? How does it?
Literally, just took a picture, split it into about half a second, and put it over to the section I wanted it in, and it would just show up. It didn't really show up in the actual software, but as soon as you rendered it, it showed up nicely.
Right. Okay.
I want to know about your technologies. So it's question 6. What have you learnt about technologies from the process of constructing this product? You spent quite a bit of time on the video talking about it, but I want to know particularly what you've learnt, what you've both learnt about technologies particularly. You were saying that you were very strong on them already, but what have you learnt in this course, both of you? So give me maybe a couple of things that you've particularly learnt.
When it comes to video cameras, I've learned an awful lot about them, because I've never really used video cameras before. It's a lot of... On the camera we were given, it was quite complex. There's a lot of different, modes, etc. We didn't really understand. But this new camera, which was specifically chosen because it was for...
Like cameras for dummies, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pause, fly.
And it was made specifically for vlogging, which is a new thing on the internet, really. Video logging, which is perfect for our piece. Another thing about technology, the vlogging, which we did talk about, it was a new kind of concept for us, wasn't it?
You mentioned blogging a lot in your piece.
Yeah.
I want to know what you've particularly learnt from blogging.
It needs to be a certain amount of formality as well as informality, because it's definitely your piece, it's very individual, but yet you need to keep it kind of understandable, because otherwise it's kind of like rambling to yourself. No one else will understand it other than you.
Josh, what have you learnt?
Well, I talked about the Photoshop idea, and obviously I've actually never used Photoshop before, which is obviously, I've done a bit in school, like through IT and everything, but this is just a new way for me. So, it was, so I learned how to make a poster and everything, so, rendering it was quite hard and everything, but actually eventually came up with a good poster.
Did you make any mistakes in your Photoshop? Do you think perhaps it didn't work? Did you have different
yes, I did have different versions of it, different colours of the background.
So why didn't you use those initial ones?
Because the colour in the new ones, that sort of yellowy, old, so I wanted it to look as if it was old, but again, like, it had a lamppost in it, so that means it's like a contradiction, so it's got the old and the new together, so...
So did your first versions not have the lamppost in, or were they
the first version still had the lamppost in, yeah.
Were they a different colour then?
Yeah, it was just, the poster was a different colour, so one was sort of black and white, and one was green as well, I think.
So why did you dismiss those?
Because I don't think it worked with the piece. I thought, I liked the idea of having this old and new clashing together, but with the black and white, didn't really show. It's quite predictable really, because if you want a creepy thing, you always have it black and white and all that. Green may just make it look like gangrene and stuff. It's not really relevant to it, but I thought the orange one was very good.
Another thing about technologies quickly is we now kind of realise how important they are when it comes to making a piece, especially a film. because every single thing is through technology. You know, the blogging, you know, the feedback, it was all through technology, and you can't do it without it.
Can I just talk about the evaluation? I just wondered why we've not. You mentioned about that you did 5 or 6 different cuts of the opening. Why didn't you show us any of what you changed? Why didn't you have any?
It's all on the
Any
blog.
stills? You've left one blog, right?
Yeah, that's the blog. We were actually going to go through it now, actually,
It's what we wanted to do.
to do it that way. Sorry, I mean, it wasn't in the evaluation. But,
Yeah, that's all. We just wondered why you've not.
yeah, so I was going to do it through this because we've still got the camera now.
Okay.
So
The blogs do show every single cut, and in between it tells you what's different, you know, what's been
And you've
changed.
reflected on why you've changed it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
I think probably last one. What have you learnt from your preliminary task to your full product? So again, thinking about what you personally, it might be completely different for each of you, what have you personally learnt right from your preliminary task? Because we were both clearly at different levels when you first started. What have you particularly learnt? 3 things, perhaps.
use factors. That's a good one because obviously I did do it at GCSE, but I didn't feel comfortable with it. I like the directing side more to it.
They difficult, you actors? To
Um,
get hold of?
Yes, they were difficult. So we were actually, well, I actually talked about it in my blog about the actors we had. So we had 2 actors we were going for who were A-level, and they were also a couple, so that worked well with the piece. But sadly, due to them being busy and all that, we had to eventually go for 2 GCSE people, which, to be honest, they did really well in the piece. We also used Chris Lambert at the end, but obviously he didn't really act a lot, he was just sitting down and turning around, so...
So what did you personally learn?
Unpredictable.
Yeah.
Really hard to keep them under a leash.
We just, we thought, actually, when we were doing the storyboard and everything, we were like, oh, this will easily be 2 minutes long or whatever. But when we were actually doing the filming then, I mean, one piece we ran for 5 minutes, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we had loads of bits that were like 8 minutes long, so we had to somehow bring them all together and put them to the time. So I think that's what we've learned really, haven't we?
I've personally learned a lot of teamwork because previously I was a very independent being. I edited, made videos on my own, and it's very helpful having a partner to help me with because you can't do it on your own really, because you need 2 sets of eyes on one piece of media at least, because parts that might seem good for you are really not good for everyone else. I mean, it's all about interpretations, and you've got to find the mid-grounds, which we found perfectly.
Okay, Chris.
Alright?
Yeah, well done, good job.
Huzzah!